Hey everybody, it's Chris Palmer, and today on the Handcrafted by Chris Palmer channel, we're going to cap your stair treads. With my friends, Alexander Molding, I'm going to try and install these simple step sets. So they come with a whole kit. Today we're going to use oak. Let's get started. The first thing you want to do is clean your site. The stair treads are probably dirty. You're gonna wanna clean them off, broom them and vacuum them and get them all nice. Then I go in with my pencil and I start to number each individual tread and riser. First one, then you go up to the next one, and it's gonna be 2. You may have 14, you may have 10. Whatever you have, number them. That way when you do your install, you number the back of the tread as you go and you know which one to install it on. All right, another tip for you guys when you're starting this video, just wanna let you know, before you go out, count your treads, make sure you have enough. You have to take into account, you obviously want to have one extra for mistakes. I always say use scrap material to try and do your test fits. And then the other thing is, if you have that extra riser, you need to actually buy a whole entire other kit. Generally, you'll have one more riser than you will treads, because the bottom one starts with a riser and you finish with a riser. That concludes on a normal set of stairs being 13 treads, you'd actually have 14 risers. So take that into hand and make sure you get that extra material. In the kit, you will get a tread, a riser, and they actually give you 2 returns. A return are for those staircases that aren't boxes. That means that the stringer doesn't go on either side. Maybe you have one end exposed on the left or an exposed end on the right. They actually give you 2 pieces of hardwood to put on the end, so that way you can install them to make them look like a full return. Let's get this one open. So here's our return. Nice simple packaging, solid piece of hardwood. Second return, in case you're doing completely open. And your riser, looks like about 5/16 veneer wrapped MDF core. Nice piece of foam to keep it protected. And of course our stair tread. Your inside measurement from here to here is 9 inches. Now, being 9 inches, if you have a tread that's a little bit deeper, it's okay, because you have to remember, you're gonna have a riser to get in there. So if you take into account for your riser, it'll allow you to get that, extra 1/8 of an inch or so for play. As you can see, the stair tread looks pretty sweet. It's a particle core with a veneer wrap, but the veneer wrap actually comes all the way around the whole entire hardwood nose. So that gives us a nice solid nosing on the stair tread, so if we hit it and dent it, we know we can sand it and fill it because it's actually real wood. Now, sanding the top of these, being a veneer coat, you gotta be careful. I wouldn't recommend anything under 220, probably a 320 sand, and you're gonna do a light rub. You're never gonna try and strip these down because you might actually take the veneer off. So remember, it is veneer. Don't try and sand them too hard with an orbital. So if your stair tread is open, as I was mentioning with these returns, they have them so it's a simple glue and maybe brad nail or pin nail to the end. You can pre-assemble them, glue them down, clamp them, and then do your finishing is ideal. And maybe do a light sand on the outside face here because it's an end grain. So it'll give you that boxed look. Pretty sweet though that they do provide that extra hardwood for you to put on the tread. Next up, we're going to measure our stair treads. This is our next, or more so, a real first step, because we need to make sure how square they are and our measurements on in and outs. And that way we can transfer them onto our stair treads, get them cut accurately, and then test fit them. Now again, if you're not an expert or you feel a little bit overwhelmed with this install, grab the scrap material, whether it's cardboard, a piece of MDF, something laying around that you don't care about, cut it to size and play with that before, and maybe use that as your template to place onto the stair tread and then install it. Now, let's get started. Now for everybody at home, there's a good chance if you're doing your basement stairs, or maybe your main floor stairs, they have a nosing, where the 2x12, the 2x10 that they've used for the cap is actually protruding like it should be on your riser. We built these stairs when we were building this addition, so we knew we were gonna cap them. I've left the nose as a box, so it goes straight flush. If you don't have that, you are gonna have to in fact cut that off so it is flush with the riser. Use a circular saw and a flush cut tool, the oscillating blade, to get it clean into your stringer. Once that's cut, that'll give you a nice flush face. If you cut it a hair back, it's okay. The point of that is because we're gonna have the cap covering everything and the riser covering it. So don't stress about how clean the cut is, just make sure that it's back slightly from your actual riser, and that way your install will go nice and clean. So I've brought my stair tread in with me because I'm gonna transfer my marks onto it directly. If you don't feel confident enough to do that, like I said, scrap material. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna use my stair tread because these are square corners. First off, you wanna check, hey, Yes, it is longer than the actual stair width, so that means you are gonna cut it down and it's not too small. If it was too small, we'd be in a little trouble. So I'm gonna put this one on the ground. I'm gonna grab my framing square and I'm gonna put to the back, noting the back is our straight line. That way I can play with my angles. As we can see here, it appears that there's maybe a fractional 16th here. Difference in the angle. Then I'm gonna flip it over and go to the other side. And this one here, we can actually see it is pretty much perfectly square. Now again, these are new stairs. Old stairs, you might see something like this at home. You might see an angle that bad. That just means you're gonna have to take into account the measurement of what that is and make sure you transfer it in. Or there are cool jigs out there that you can probably copy off another YouTube video that shows you how to shift the angles. But again, if you want to, just take a piece of cardboard, cut it out, dry fit it, transfer it to your stair tread and it'll work. So knowing that this is pretty much square, I'm gonna take the measurement of my entire width. At the back, I have 40.5, and at the front, 40 5/8. Now, the funny thing is, I know that the left-hand side had the angle because I was using my square. So that tells me that the 40 5/8 angle needs to go to the left side of the tread, not the right side. So we need to take that measurement and actually pull it from the right-hand side now because my right-hand side was square. So I'm gonna pull my tape measure to the left and redo those measurements over now. So that's our stair tread. Now let's mark our first riser. So with our risers, again, double check how much do you think you need to take off in the height. This one here appears that it is too tall. So we are gonna put a pencil mark at the back of it for a rip line. Pencil mark at this side for a rip line. And that way I can snap a line and take a measurement and rip this one through my table saw. Now to mark the width. Again, another tip for you. If this is top, which we obviously know it is, but on the riser, you might not know which side's top, right on the back. T for top, B for bottom. That way you can keep your orientation up and down, know that it's number 1, and then we're good. Finishing this side, not finishing this side, so we can write all day long on the back. So, just like it said before, 40 5/8. Now, I may have skipped a step. I want to check which one's square based on the floor. Using the floor as square, it's pretty good there. And you can see this one's out by a little bit. So that's going to tell me that the left-hand side needs to get pinched and the top needs to fan out. So the top angle goes out on this side and it's straight on that side. So my left-hand side is going to have a small outward angle. So I'm going to pull all my measurements from the right-hand side because it's the most square. 40 5/8 was the top. Say 40 7/16, there's just a hair under. This is where I use my combination square on the smaller sizes. Okay, so I know I need to rip this and I need to cut this. So now I'm going to continue from step 1 all the way up to step 13. I'm going to dry fit everything after I've measured them all, and then I will go on to dry fitting them. And then once they're all test fit, we'll take them over to the shop and we'll start staining and clear coating them. So let's get to the saw. All right, so we're on the miter saw. Now, quick tip for everybody at home, you want a fine tooth blade. You want like the high numbers, whether it's 70, 80, 90. Basically the number, it refers to what it can do, which is a finer cut. The higher the number, the finer the cut. This is a veneer and we are cutting across the grains. That's a good chance that it's gonna splinter. So one of the precautions you can take, clearance on the zero throat plate won't matter because the back of it we're not gonna see, but the front we want clean. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a piece of tape along my pencil line. Pressing that tape down firmly is gonna try and hold down the surface so I don't have as much chip out. Now, if you really want to, you could put the piece of tape with another piece right beside it, or you could redo your marks if you wanted to and put the marks right down the center of the tape. Basically, I put tape on to help splintering and the blowout. So let's get cutting. So the one thing I like about my miter saw, this one here has a digital gauge on it. Helps a lot. That way you can actually roll your angle, lock it in place. I am eyeballing it to make sure that my saw blade is going down my pencil line to follow that angle, but found out that it was about 1.92 degrees. So So now we're gonna go check that out and see how it looks. And I am going to leave my tape in place just in case I need to put a little tick on it. Thankful I put my T up here so I know that's my top. I'm gonna dry fit this. Now, I haven't ripped it yet. I'm just doing my miter cut. It appears a little too tight, and you can see there's flexibility in the board here. It's resting nicely on the floor. So I'm gonna take my pencil. I have a hair of a gap here. I'm gonna run my pencil up the side as a scribe line. So you can see where my pencil ran here, running that little scribe. We're gonna take that little bit off, and you can use a saw or we can use the belt sander. The belt sander is a little bit more forgiving. You can get tighter, you can get closer, and there's a lot less chance of it splintering. All right, moment of truth. Like a glove. Now, 14 more times. Knowing that we've got my angle set, I'm gonna lift this piece up so I don't create a draft on my cut. I just wanna support that back, and that way it doesn't have that drop. So I'm gonna take an off cut, fold it over, push it up underneath here so it's supported. Make sure I'm square to my fence, and that should be good. So you see our little splintering here on that piece, but on this piece, it should be good. No splintering. So you can see we have a little bit of a reveal on the tape. So if we need to, we can now remove that with the belt sander, but let's go give it a test fit. First fit, a little snug. Just like I said, that little bit revealed. It's probably actually our answer to getting this to fit just perfectly. So let's go take it to the belt sander. Quick tip. I always love to give tips. Belt sanding. Whenever you're doing this for something that needs to fit down or in, a micro bevel is always awesome. Take your belt sander and just tip it just a bit down. That way you get a backdraft or a little bevel down. Call it the back bevel. It allows things to slide in nice and tight and leaves just the top edge to actually touch. All right, so it's now to get into the staining of the wood. Number one, get your gloves on, make sure one finger is ripped off so that you can get one colorful finger in the job. This is my last pair of gloves, all out, can't go get another pair. So, here's the stain. Mine is water-based, okay? Oil-based versus water-based, two things. Water-based, soap water cleanup. Oil-based, Varsol paint thinners, those kind of things are what you're gonna use for cleaning up your brushes or your skin, just to get that off. Now, this stuff is a veneer-based product, so you're gonna make sure that you're gonna do a light sand with a 320. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wipe it down because we've already pre-sanded this, just to get rid of the high points and any little scratchy surface parts. We got rid of them all, made sure there's no stains on it, and then I take a damp rag and I'll just wipe it down. I'm just gonna wipe it off, clean it off. You can take tack cloth to make sure there's no debris. All these products are great for cleaning off your wood before you stain, and especially before you do your clear coat. Stir or shake, whatever it says on the can, follow the directions. Pop the lid, make sure it's evenly mixed so you don't see any inconsistencies in the color, and then go ahead and begin to brush. Notice that I am brushing with the grain. The key with wood, especially in stain grading, is always going across, making the can go pop. Brush with the grain because you want it to go in a nice direction. This is the same thing when it comes down to your clear coating. When you get to your clear coat, make sure that you do your grain direction. If you go against the grain, it might be a really good settling product, but it also might look horrible. So, brush it in with your grains, better flow, better coating. All right, now don't forget about that nose. You may want to do the nose first because it might be easier to hold the stair tread. But in this case, I'm just going to stand it up on its end and brush it in. And then the underside, because obviously we can see the belly of this thing only on this tip. As you walk up the stairs, you might be able to catch this, depending on how your stair treads are. If they're open on one side, so make sure you cover all your edges. And just like that, first one's stained. Now we go on to our rag and give it a wipe. Look for inconsistencies in your stain. You want to make sure there's no blotches and there's no leftover lumps and streaks. Make sure your wipes look consistent so that everything looks even when it's stained. You don't want to have any thin spots. Now, this is a veneer, not a real hardwood, so the staining will hopefully be a little bit more forgiving and a little more consistent, but at the same time, you might have manufacturer defects in it. That is given with any situation that is coming through a factory, so nothing is perfect. Just take it with a grain of salt. And just like that, first tread's done. Now 13 more. Clear coat time. Your stain's dry. You've waited 8, 12, 24 hours. And with clear coat, tip, don't shake it, okay? It's gonna make bubbles in the can. You may, if you like, to transfer into another cup, so that way you don't dip a dirty brush into a whole can. For the intentions of this video, please forgive me as I dunk my brush into the can consistently. I have already stirred it, but just so you can see, I will stir it again for consistency. Looks even all the way through, no chunks, no lumps, no particulates. Like I said before, you can tip it up if you like, it'll be easier. And the idea would be to stain this, or pardon me, clear coat this part, that way you can keep your hand on the tread, and it makes it a lot easier for the handle. So I recommend minimum 3 coats on the stair tread. We are using, well, my preference of what I've got available to me right now is Nano Defense. It's like a Rust-Oleum product. And again, once you're done this and you get these coats on, you can spray it if you want. I could set up my sprayer, but I like to brush these kind of coatings on. And that way I can make control of any waste as the overspray is reduced to none. Watch for drips. After you've brushed your first coat on these things, pay attention to what you've got as you put it on your drying rack or wherever you're drying them, and look for those little drips to happen after you're done brushing. Nobody's perfect, we all make mistakes, so that's the way we can catch ourselves, is go back and look at it. 5 minutes afterwards, you might see something come out. Quick tip too, don't sand after your first coat. You know why? There's not enough material to sand, leave it alone. Once you get the second coat on there, you can sand. And don't sand with a 220 or a 150, get up to a 320, because all you're trying to do is take away those high spots. If you get any little nubs or knurls from the grain, the hair standing up or something like that in the veneer, all you want to do is knock those down. The clear coat will help you. It levels itself out and it gives you a nice finish. Just follow the instructions and it'll all work out. So that's going to dry. This can says I can wait 2 hours and throw another coat on it. I'll do that. And then I'm going to wait at least 8 to 10 hours and then I'll do that light buff sand. Then I'll wipe it with a tack cloth, damp cloth, anything, blow it off with a hose tool, the air hose, and then we're gonna go for our third coat. And then it's up to you whether or not you think you need a fourth, okay? This is all based on waiting another 2 days after that, then install it, because you don't wanna have traffic on these things right away. Let's get to installing these things. So we have finished our staining. We've got our clear coat on there using our beautiful floor finish. And of course, we made sure that it matched, because laminate flooring is not perfect, right? It's a manufactured product. You're never really actually truly gonna make it look like it, but I'd have to say we did a pretty good job. So let's get to installing our finished stair treads and risers. I've got my tools with me. You may not have them, but if you like to purchase them, they're gonna help you. You can rent them, or you can try something else that you may have at home. The idea is to use something of a pin nailer. 23 gauge is what I like to use on my risers. Brad nail gun could be used on the risers or on the treads. The choice is yours. I'm gonna use a lot of adhesive today, and that way there's gonna be a lot less nail hole filling. And there is gonna be a tip I'm going to give you on how to make sure your nail holes fill in nicely. My choice of adhesive today, you can use a PL Premium, you can use many different adhesives, silicone. I like to use Curtifix. This stuff grabs and it rubberizes, so it has a little bit of movement. So when the wood stretches and moves around, it kind of moves with it. It's got a really good elasticity to it. Top secret, my trick. I'm sharing it with the whole entire world now on YouTube. First things first, riser goes in. I got my arrow pointing up. Fits nice and clean. So what do I do first? Obviously it's been test fitted. We are now going to apply the adhesive. Now, key with the adhesive is, as we go in, we break lines. And why do I do that? This allows air to travel. So whether you do it in streaks this way, streaks that way, really doesn't matter. Key is you need to be able to squeeze air out so that the glue and the adhesive can cure. And you can see the glue has a good grab to it. And the only reason we ever really want to nail it is to pin it in place to stop it from falling or stop from slipping. Now we have this glue and it has all that great hold to it. So in my personal opinion, I don't want to nail it, but I want to show you, because it's the first one and it's the hardest one to see, so it's the best one to actually make any mistake on. If you're going to make a mistake, put the tape where you think you're going to put the nail. One shot. See that nail hole, how it's in the tape? Now if I take wood filler and I push it in there and I peel my tape off, it'll make the perfect fill. Make sure the depth of the nail gun is set so it doesn't blow right through the material. And you see it keeps the tape there. You got the fill line, we're good. So now all I'm gonna do is be able to put my filler in there and wipe it off. Quick tip, at home, when you're nailing these on, try and nail on the edge where it's being hidden by the actual nosing. So on the top here, across our riser, we have about a 1/2 inch covered. It's an inconspicuous spot where you generally can't see anything and there's always a shadow cast. Put a nail in there, it'll help hold it in place. Otherwise, anywhere else, put a piece of tape, nail through the tape, and then you can put a nice filler on there, peeling the tape off, and it leaves a perfect little nail head covered. Next up is our stair tread. We can do the same thing, make sure our glue allows air to travel. Using that micro bevel that we added to allow us to drop this in will make our install that much better. Knowing now, all the other ones, just like that. Again, if you want to nail them down and you feel like it's better to nail it down, put your tape down first, nail into your points of contact, leave the tape there until you put your little wood filler on, color match crayon, and then peel it off. All right, so now we've done all of our installation and just gone over that green tape and put our wood filler on it. And now we're gonna let it dry for a few more minutes and then we're gonna touch it. We'll go get a little stain on the end of our rag. We'll do a little wipe on each nail head all the way up, just that extra detail. Peel off the tape and that's it, folks. We're out of here. Beautiful new staircase coming right up. Well, that's a wrap, folks. I want to thank Alexandra Moldings for hooking me up with these nice stair tread caps. And I want to thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Comment, like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts. Check you later.